According to the Washington Post, 990 people were shot dead by police last year. 990. Of those 990, 494 were white, 258 black, 172 Hispanic, and 66 are listed as unknown. Pretty interesting figure when you try to put all of this in perspective. What a weekend we have on the way right now. It looks like the weather is taking a turn, really for the better on Sunday. Mostly cloudy in the morning and then some partly sunny skies giving way. Maybe a chance of a shower, and the temperatures and humidity dropping down into the 70s. That's a big deal, and we're excited to have the legends Roger Robinson and Kathrine Switzer in studio here now. Good morning, guys. Thanks so much.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
A legendary good morning to you.
A legendary good morning. So tell me, you guys come back every year. Of course, you'll be on our local broadcast. It's a pleasure to have you guys here every year.
Thank you so much. It's always great to be back. It's like a tradition for us now.
Yeah.
I think I've been back here 30 years, and of course I've run this race many, many times. Back when I was a student at Syracuse University, I believe I ran the progenitor for this race, which was the Fort Stanwix Days race back in like 72 or 73.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And then to see what it's become.
Yeah, and we come back really for a reason that I tried to articulate in an article that I published and just ran on Facebook yesterday, which is that this race, more than any other race we know, encapsulates what's really special about running, which is that it's a huge global movement and industry, but it's also based on totally local inventiveness and effort. So each race is different. And what I said in this article is that running is not like McDonald's, where you can go anywhere in the world and it's the same McDonald's. Each running race has its own character, and that comes from the fact that it's been created by the local people.
Yeah,
and it's sustained by the volunteers, the committees. Each race has its own very strong character. It's really fascinating.
How many end with 45,000 people at a brewery drinking beer?
Well, exactly. That's unique.
Yeah. Yes, at 9 o'clock in the morning, which is really pretty scary when you think about it.
And not many, this is a significant thing, not many have their own permanent finish line as a structure which is over the street year-round. Most of them are just archways of balloons. They go away. This one, that seems to me to express how important this race is to the Utica community. It's always here.
Another thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but another thing that I think is really significant about this race is the way the community embraces totally unknown people who are elite athletes from around the world, and some of them from countries they've never heard of.
Right.
And they get just as excited about them and really, really get behind them. It's a wonderful international event. And Roger and I often talk about how the athletes that emerge here, that come here, go on to do amazing things, world championships, Olympic champions, win the Boston Marathon. And sometimes this is a proving ground for them, as well as we will see on Sunday, and we'll talk about this, a show of some really, really talented people.
I just wanted to mention quickly, Roger, the article you referenced, I just shared on the WIBX Facebook page, and then something you just said as well, Kathrine. Are there athletes competing this weekend who we may see on the Olympic stage this summer?
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Wow.
You can't say exactly who they'll be, but just as in the past, Lalissa de Cisa was a totally unknown name when I tried to pronounce it over the microphone when he won this race about 6 years ago, and he was battling with somebody called Faisa Lalissa. That was a hard one for me.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
And the people around me got very damp, but that was his first big win. Then he went on. He's now won the Boston Marathon twice, and he won the Boston Marathon in the year of the bombings, and he became really famous because he gave his medal back to the people of Boston. He's a world figure. He started his international career here in Utica.
Wow.
And as for the women, Edna Kiplagat, who has won this race twice and has set the course record here, broke Catherine Dreba's longstanding record, is also a two-time world champion. So, I mean, it's highly likely that she's going to be at the Olympic Games.
And there's a guy running here this year who we hadn't heard of until a week ago. He's called, I think it's pronounced Gaay, G-A-A-Y, Gabriel Gaay. He's from Tanzania, which is relatively unusual. He just won the Peachtree race in Atlanta on July the 4th. It's a great story. He came over to the States to try and get the qualifying to run for Tanzania in the Olympic Games. He ran in Eugene, Oregon. He just missed by half a second the qualifying in both the 5,000 and the 10,000. He was very tired. He then ran a road race while he was in the country in Boston, ran badly. And then his agent, who's a friend of mine, Derek Frood, a New Zealander, said, back off for a while, just jog for 2 weeks. Out he came, out of the box, won Peachtree. Now, he's suddenly a big name. Is he going to go on and be an Olympian? Derek Frood thinks he is. Derek Frood said he's going to be a big force in running in the years to come.
Wow.
We'll see on Sunday whether that's happening yet. You never know.
And these are just some of the people to look for. And then you have, it's interesting to watch the stages. You have the athletes that are really New York State athletes, regional athletes that are really strong here. They're never going to be running in the Olympics, but they're strong. And then you have those that are just out there to finish, and you can't imagine them running the race.
That is amazing. I'm thinking of, when you say somebody local who's really good, I'm thinking of Laurel Leone, who Laurel Leone, who lives in Manlius. Her husband has been the official timer and scorer, has his equipment and everything here professionally of this race for a number of years. They've got a couple of kids now. She was one of the greats out of that wonderful Fayetteville Manlius high school team and went on to college. So she's here, and she's winning everything in upstate New York, but she's never going to make the Olympic team.
Right.
But this is significant for her, very, very significant, and everybody loves seeing her. I mean, she represents some of the best of women's running. And then there are people who are here, it's on their bucket list. I got to do the Boilermaker.
Yeah, and you're right about the people back in the field. I'm advising a guy in Newport, New York, where we live. He started running at 65. He wants to get his Boston qualifier for the marathon. He ran here last year, loved this race, and he's back this time, and he wants to improve his best time. No, you're not going to see him because he's going to finish 12,000th or something.
Right.
But it's an important day for him.
But his goal is different than, it's not winning the race. He has his goal, and it's something that he has to obtain.
And the fact that he's in the field with somebody like Edna Kiplagat, who has won 2 world championships, or Alyssa DeSissa, who's won Boston Marathon. In fact, he's in that same field, really means a lot to him. That doesn't happen in any other sport.
It doesn't happen in any other sport, and let's think about that for a second. It's easy to glaze over that. It does not happen in any other sport.
No,
I mean,
that's right. You can't play with the pros. You can't be on the NBA or the NFL, but you can run with these guys.
Think of all the guys out playing softball on Friday night. They'd love to be playing with a Derek Jeter.
That's right.
But here it's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Roger's never had this experience, but I used to have this experience. I'd line up at the Boston Marathon every year, and I didn't have any hope of winning, but I knew up front some of the greatest athletes in the world were there. And along the race, I'd take these deep breaths. I'm saying, I'm getting these world-class molecules. I'm still breathing the exhale from some of the greatest champions in the world, a baby, Bakila, everybody else. And it was inspiring for me.
It doesn't sound very hygienic to me, but I get the same from the sense of the history of the sport. That you're running in the footsteps of great athletes and often running on the same course. And that's what everybody's doing here.
Yeah.
If I can shift the focus for a minute to the two of you about running and the sport, and that it's young and that it's old, and none of us are as young as we once were, but I know, Roger, if you could share a story, you had, I believe, a knee replacement, and if I'm not mistaken, they basically said, you're not going to run, this is not made for running, do not run, and you actually do quite a bit of running.
Yes, Jeff. And the way I put it is I didn't disobey the surgeon. I just kind of forgot because I started running again very, very carefully and very gently, just a few steps at a time, and slowly built up. And over 5 years, my knee is called Russell. And he's named after the surgeon who implanted him, who's called Russell. So my knee is 5 years old. And he's doing lifetime bests now. And actually, I've now got to the level, I'm now training every day. I'm doing serious training.
Wow.
And I've now got to the level when I am really competitive. Now, I'm right up in the age group. I'm 77, so the age group gets a bit limited. If you see because people drop out. And many of them are underground now rather than racing. But it's been a totally unexpected revival for me, and I'm loving it, and I'm racing hard. And just 6 days ago, I ran a personal best over 10,000 meters which placed me in the top 10th of that field. You know, I was
Wow.
up there battling. All the young athletes around me, because I make rather bad noises at the end of the race, and they're all concerned. You can see them all reaching for their cell phones, and they're going to call the emergency room because they can see this incredible old man struggling alongside, and they think I'm going to die. But in fact, I'm not. I'm actually in very good shape. I had a medical test. I'm in better health than most 40-year-olds, and running does that for you.
Now, did you say personal best ever?
No.
Okay.
What I call a 21st century
Okay,
personal
I was
best.
going to say. There you go.
It's all relative.
No,
I was
it's
going to
all
say,
relative.
that's a hell of a knee, after all, isn't it?
It is.
It's
Russell does very
bionic.
well.
And I understand you were in at a recent competition. You were in a bit of a foot race. Can you tell me about your competitor in that particular case? I don't think he was quite as old as you.
Oh, you're talking about, yes, that was a 5K in Newport's where we live, and the last half mile I was battling with this 9-year-old boy.
That's funny.
And again, it's what you were saying, but you don't get many sports where a 77-year-old and a 9-year-old are competing on equal terms.
Can I ask who finished first?
He did.
He did.
He had He had the legs. He had the sprint. Sorry.
And how great for him to
But
say,
next
I
ti-
beat
next time
Roger
I'll get him.
Robinson. Next time you'll get him. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, listen, to have you guys on the broadcast is incredible. And the details on the broadcast for this weekend starts bright and early on Sunday
7
morning.
o'clock Sunday morning, and we'll have Kathrine at the start line as always. Kathrine has excellent play-by-play coverage of the women's elite runners. Roger and I are at the finish line, where, of course, Roger anchors the broadcast with the coverage of the men's elite. I wanted to mention as well, our very own Jim Rondinelli will be on the media truck assisting with that coverage, helping us identify who the athletes are. And then this is not part of our coverage, but I did want to mention, I know in years past you've done a forum, the Runners Forum, over the weekend. Are you a part of that again this year? Where will you be this weekend?
It's 1 o'clock on Saturday. So where the expo is at Mohawk Community College, and we're in the Alumni Center. So 1 o'clock, and we'll be there with Bill Rogers, Roger, and me, and we'll be signing books and communicating with everybody.
Nice.
Welcome.
Excellent.
Open to the public.
That's a good occasion. And your listeners, if they're going out to watch the race, take the radio with them, because then they'll know who all these guys are who are running past. Because I mean, they may all look just Kenyan and Ethiopian, but each one has a different story, and we'll be trying to tell those stories on the air.
So once again, coverage begins at 7 o'clock Sunday morning. As you mentioned, bring your radio. And I forgot to mention that Kathrine, how will she be calling the race on the course? Well, she's on the back of one of those three-wheeled Can-Am Spiders. I want to thank our man Bob, who drives that and keeps Kathrine safe. I also want to say thanks to the folks at DDS who provide us that vehicle. So the group over at DDS Motorsports, thank you very much.
And until you've been on the vehicle, you never really put into perspective how fast those elite runners are going.
That's right.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
Yeah. Because I'm right alongside of them in that Can-Am vehicle. It's
They're
amazing.
moving.
Yeah.
They're moving. It's really, really incredible. So, all right. Well, listen, Roger and Kathrine, thank you so much. Looking forward to the broadcast on Sunday morning. It's the place to listen. I have to tell you, just to have you guys manning the booth is pretty big. Technically, there's no booth, I guess, in this case. So, all right, nice job. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, one thing before we leave, I have to tell you that, and you guys should participate. I mean, you're New Yorkers. You know, the lottery, the Mega Millions, is now $540 million. We've done an office pool here at the radio station. And technically, it's just here in the studio.
Correct.
And we'd like to invite you into our office pool. All right, pretty simple and easy. We'll take 3 callers. Caller 2, 4, and 6, Andrew, at 736-0186 right now, 2, 4, and 6. And that gives you a chance to get in on our office pool. And I don't know, what percentage are we going to give up?
Well,
We'll split everything equally, and it is all of us here in studio plus the winner. If, of course, the number comes up.
I was going to say, Bill, 10%, 50%, or 100% of 0 is still the same number.
Well, you know, I don't want to mention what the odds are of actually winning this thing. You might actually have better odds of beating somebody in the Boilermaker this weekend. To be honest,
This is a lot easier.
I think it is. All right, listen, there you have that. And by the way, if you're considering anything when it comes to the forecast, we had a real strong percentage chance of rain on Sunday morning, but that has changed. Looking now at under 50% chance of rain on Sunday morning. It looks like it'll turn to partly sunny skies, so a decent one on the way. That does it for us. Got to go. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy Boilermaker Weekend on WIBX.